GNOME is more than just a desktop environment. It's a story of ambition, innovation, and the power of collaboration. To truly understand GNOME, we must explore not only its technical achievements, but also the cultural and philosophical foundations that have guided it for over 25 years. The GNOME project was announced in August 1997 by Miguel de Icaza and Federico Mena Quintero. At the time, KDE had established itself as the most advanced graphical desktop for Linux. However, KDE's reliance on the Qt toolkit, which had restrictive licensing terms, posed a dilemma for free software advocates. Relying on proprietary software, even partially, was unacceptable. GNOME was envisioned as a fully free alternative, perfectly aligned with the principles of the new project. The late 1990s were a revolutionary period for technology, often referred to as the dot-com boom. Many major open-source projects we recognize today were born in this era. Apache, MySQL, and GIMP emerged in 1995, PostgreSQL in 1996, and Mozilla in 1998. Linux distributions such as Slackware, Debian, SUSE, and Red Hat were established between 1993 and 1994. GNOME filled a crucial gap in the open-source ecosystem, immediately garnering widespread attention. The GNOME logo, a footprint, was chosen to symbolize the project's goal of leaving a lasting mark in the open-source world. Over time, this logo evolved, reflecting GNOME's journey from a scrappy newcomer to a polished product embodying professionalism and innovation. At its core, GNOME relied on GTK, a toolkit originally developed for GIMP, the new image manipulation program. GIMP was one of the first major free software projects, and GTK became the foundation for GNOME. The name GNOME stands for New Network Object Model Environment, representing the project's ambition to create not just a desktop, but an integrated ecosystem. In 1998, GNOME released version 0.30, an alpha version that, while rough, offered the essential components for a desktop environment of its time. This early version did not include a window manager. However, GNOME's first major milestone came in March 1999 with the release of GNOME 1.0. After 18 months of development, GNOME debuted with a basic set of tools: a file manager, a panel, a terminal emulator, and its first window manager, Sawfish. Although still rough around the edges, GNOME's foundation in free software principles made it a critical alternative to KDE. In March 2000, at the first-ever GUADEC conference held in Paris, the idea of the GNOME Foundation was born, quite literally in a Parisian café. The foundation was designed to provide a formal organizational structure for the GNOME project, ensuring stability and governance. The foundation's initial members included Compaq, Easel, Helix Code, IBM, Red Hat, Sun Microsystems, and VA Linux. Its constitution ensured that no single entity could dominate the project. No organization was allowed to hold more than one-third of the seats on the board of directors, GNOME's highest governing body. Following the release of GNOME 1.0, the project quickly gained momentum. Subsequent versions introduced significant improvements. GNOME 1.2, Bongo. This version refined many of GNOME's initial features, improving usability and stability. GNOME 1.4, Tranquility, released in 2001, this version brought major advancements to the desktop environment, including Nautilus, a new file manager that integrated web browsing capabilities; Medusa, a file indexing and search module that simplified finding content. During this period, GNOME's development was primarily guided by its founders, Miguel de Icaza and Federico Mena Quintero, whose vision and leadership laid the foundation for GNOME's future success. Takes extended beyond technical superiority to the philosophical direction of open-source desktops. GNOME, built on C and GTK, prioritized software freedom, while KDE relied on C++ and the initially proprietary Qt toolkit. Even after Qt was relicensed as free software in 2000, the philosophical divide remained. A pivotal moment during this period was Project Bob. By the late 1990s, Red Hat had emerged as a major backer of GNOME. However, internal discussions within Red Hat questioned whether GNOME could realistically compete with KDE, which was widely regarded as more polished and consistent. In response, a group of GNOME developers worked tirelessly for 36 hours to create a polished prototype of the GNOME desktop. This effort, dubbed Project Bob, convinced Red Hat to maintain its support, securing GNOME's survival and future development. Red Hat's role was not limited to financial support. The company championed GNOME as the default desktop environment for its Linux distributions, positioning it as a centerpiece in its strategy to bring open-source software to enterprise markets. This commitment solidified GNOME's position within the open-source ecosystem. Diacasa's charisma and technical expertise inspired the open-source community and laid the groundwork for GNOME's growth. However, as GNOME evolved, Diacasa began shifting his focus toward Mono, an open-source implementation of Microsoft's .NET framework. While Mono aimed to bridge open-source and proprietary ecosystems, it sparked controversy within the open-source community. Critics raised concerns about potential patent violations and the risk of over-reliance on Microsoft technologies, which were seen as antithetical to free software principles. Over time, Diacasa distanced himself from GNOME, and his eventual switch to Mac OS X in 2012 was a symbolic moment that underscored GNOME's challenges in competing with Apple's tightly integrated ecosystem. As Diacasa's involvement waned, Havok Pennington and later Vincent Untz played pivotal roles in GNOME's direction. Pennington spearheaded the development of GNOME 2.0, introducing cohesive design principles and usability improvements. He also founded critical technologies like MetaCity, the default window manager, and dbus, which became integral to inter-process communication in Linux environments. Vincent Untz, as a release coordinator, ensured that GNOME adhered to its development cycles and community-driven goals. His leadership was instrumental during the transition from GNOME 2 to GNOME 3, providing stability and focus during a transformative period. The 2.x series marked GNOME's full maturity. The first release, GNOME 2, was in 2001. Featuring a simple, intuitive, and essential interface, it emphasized efficiency and user experience. The interaction model revolved around virtual desktops, applets in the top panel, and a bottom panel for managing windows and tasks. The goal was to minimize space usage while ensuring users could perform tasks with minimal effort. During this era, GNOME introduced groundbreaking technologies like GStreamer, a multimedia framework, Tracker, a file indexing and search engine, Transcoder for multimedia management. These tools gained widespread adoption, extending GNOME's influence beyond the Linux desktop. Regular release cycles ensured steady improvements, with each update refining GNOME's stability and usability. While no single release stood out, the 2.x series collectively represented a period of sustained growth and development. As GNOME expanded its horizons, two notable collaborations emerged: Intel's Moblin project and Nokia's Maemo. Intel aimed to redefine interfaces for netbooks and portable devices with the Moblin project, leveraging GNOME technologies like GTK and Clutter. This collaboration highlighted GNOME's adaptability to new markets and its role in shaping lightweight, intuitive user interfaces. Nokia's Maemo, used in devices like the N900, was a Linux-based mobile operating system built on GNOME technologies. Maemo demonstrated GNOME's versatility in entering the mobile market, offering a glimpse of its potential beyond traditional desktops. These collaborations underscored GNOME's influence and adaptability, positioning it as a key player in emerging tech markets. GNOME also ventured into education with the One Laptop Per Child (OLPC) initiative. The Sugar desktop, built on GNOME technologies, provided an interface designed for collaboration and exploration, aiming to make computing accessible to children in developing countries. Although Sugar struggled to gain mainstream adoption, it remains a testament to GNOME's commitment to expanding open-source software's reach. Red Hat further championed GNOME through its Global Desktop initiative, targeting affordable solutions for developing markets. While the project ultimately failed to gain traction, it showcased GNOME's flexibility and the challenges of creating sustainable business models for such efforts. By the late 2000s, GNOME 2.x had reached its limits. While the series continued to refine its features, its development had plateaued, leaving little room for radical innovation. Meanwhile, Mac OS X 10, with its Aqua interface introduced in 2001, had set new standards in graphical design, showcasing what a tightly integrated ecosystem could achieve. In response, GNOME's developers decided to take a bold leap. They aim to reinvent the desktop paradigm with GNOME 3 and GNOME Shell, embracing a modern, minimalist vision that addressed contemporary user needs. The release of GNOME 3 in 2011 marked a pivotal moment in the history of the Linux desktop. By introducing GNOME Shell, the project broke away from traditional desktop metaphors and presented a completely new interaction model. The Activities overview replaced the conventional bottom panel, integrating window management, multitasking, and universal search into a unified interface. While this approach embodied simplicity and elegance, it also sparked widespread unease within the community. GNOME 3 aimed to redefine the Linux desktop, aligning with proprietary interfaces that were setting new standards for usability and design. However, this bold step created divisions within the Linux ecosystem, as many users struggled to adapt to the new paradigm. The drastic changes in GNOME Shell prompted a wave of alternative projects. Canonical, which had previously relied on GNOME for its Ubuntu distribution, chose to develop its own desktop environment, Unity, and the Mir display server. Unity aimed to provide a unique user experience but also reflected the growing divisions within the Linux community. Simultaneously, forks of GNOME 2, such as Mate, emerged to preserve the traditional desktop metaphors that many users still valued. Linux Mint quickly gained popularity with Cinnamon, a modern desktop environment that blended familiar elements with innovative features. Even Debian, traditionally a supporter of GNOME, temporarily adopted XFCE during the transition to GNOME 3, returning only with Debian 8, Jessie. Despite the widespread pushback, GNOME 3 laid the foundation for a unified modern interface, focusing on usability and accessibility, which had always been core tenets of the GNOME project. Two key figures behind this transformation were Matthias Classen, who led the technical development of GNOME Shell and the GNOME 3 platform, and Alan Day, the driving force behind its design and user experience. At the core of GNOME 3's advancements were Wayland and GTK3. These technologies enabled GNOME to create an innovative desktop environment while remaining adaptable to modern computing needs. GNOME Shell served as the centerpiece of this vision, emphasizing a minimalist yet functional design. While GNOME focused on refining its desktop experience, it left behind its earlier ambitions in the mobile space. The Maemo project, once a symbol of GNOME's potential in mobile computing, faded with Nokia's exit from the market. This shift allowed GNOME to concentrate on building a robust desktop infrastructure. The introduction of the Human Interface Guidelines, IG, provided developers with clear documentation for creating cohesive and intuitive applications. The Adwaita theme and GNOME's stylistic language became defining features of its aesthetic, prioritizing consistency and simplicity. One of GNOME Shell's most impactful innovations was the extensions framework, which allowed users to customize their desktops to suit individual needs. Extensions addressed initial criticisms of GNOME Shell's rigidity and enabled users to tailor their workflows. This flexibility gradually helped GNOME regain the trust of its community, establishing it as a modern, adaptable desktop environment. During this period, GNOME also pioneered Flatpak, a revolutionary software distribution technology. Flatpak allowed applications to run in isolated containers, ensuring compatibility across distributions and enhancing security. FlatHub, the centralized repository for Flatpak applications, became a vital component of GNOME's ecosystem, benefiting developers and users alike. GNOME's resilience in the face of external challenges is exemplified by the 2013 trademark dispute with Groupon. When Groupon attempted to trademark the name GNOME for a point-of-sale system, the GNOME Foundation launched a fundraising campaign, raising over $100,000 in less than a week. This swift action forced Groupon to abandon its claim, showcasing the strength of GNOME's community. GNOME's continued evolution owes much to its talented team of developers and leaders, who have earned respect both within and beyond the open-source community. Carlos Soriano, a key developer of GNOME Files, Nautilus, contributing significantly to the project's usability. Emmanuel Abbasi, the technical leader of the GTK platform and other core GNOME components. Alan Day, the central figure behind GNOME's design and user experience, shaping its vision for simplicity and elegance. Jakub Steiner, a graphic designer responsible for Adwaita and GNOME's recent GUI language. Neil Rob McQueen, 2022 present, the executive director of the GNOME Foundation, steering its strategic growth. Between 2011 and 2021, GNOME steadily matured. Developers responded to user feedback, introducing features tailored to the needs of its growing user base. The introduction of long-term support, LTS, releases brought stability to enterprise environments, while incremental updates refined the GNOME shell experience. The adoption of GTK4 was a pivotal moment in GNOME's history. This advanced toolkit enabled GNOME to fully leverage modern hardware capabilities, delivering significant improvements in performance, graphics rendering, and responsiveness. This transition marked a new era for the project, culminating in the release of GNOME 4 in 2021. By this time, GNOME had firmly established itself as one of the most advanced and refined desktop environments, not only within the open-source ecosystem, but also when compared to proprietary alternatives. It's safe to say that GNOME has overcome the inferiority complex that some users and developers felt over 20 years ago, when Mac OS X revolutionized the desktop landscape with its Aqua interface. The sleek, groundbreaking design of Aqua set a high bar for usability and aesthetics, creating a ripple effect across the tech industry. However, GNOME's developers took these challenges as inspiration, embarking on their own bold revolution with GNOME Shell. What seemed like risky choices at the time, breaking away from conventional paradigms, introducing radical design changes, and focusing on a unified, accessible experience, have proven to be courageous and visionary decisions. GNOME has grown into a mature, complete desktop environment, one that is not only widely appreciated by users, but also embraced by a variety of Linux distributions and enterprise environments. Today, GNOME is celebrated as a desktop environment that strikes the perfect balance between functionality and aesthetics. Its ecosystem is cohesive, accessible, and intuitive, offering an interface that is immediately recognizable and easy to navigate. It embodies the principles of simplicity and beauty, delivering an experience that can be described as Zen-like, minimalist without being underwhelming, essential without feeling basic. This thoughtful approach has made GNOME a preferred choice not only for individual users, but also for businesses and enterprise environments. Its well-documented human interface guidelines, robust tools like Flatpak, and seamless integration across devices have contributed to its success. Moreover, GNOME has remained true to its roots, consistently prioritizing accessibility, usability, and freedom, principles that define the open-source philosophy. GNOME's evolution over the years is a testament to its developers' ability to learn, adapt, and innovate. From overcoming early criticism of GNOME Shell to leading the way with technologies like GTK4 and Flatpak, the project has solidified its place as a trailblazer in the desktop environment landscape. Far from its early days of struggle and experimentation, GNOME now stands as a shining example of what open-source collaboration can achieve. It serves as a reminder that taking bold risks, even in the face of criticism, can lead to long-term success. Today, GNOME isn't just a desktop environment. It's an embodiment of simplicity, elegance, and the enduring spirit of open-source innovation.